Now is one of the greatest times to be starting a SaaS business, especially because of the AI wave. In fact, in the last 18 months alone, I've started, developed, validated, and am actively scaling 2 specific SaaS companies. Here's a big question though. How do you actually develop your SaaS idea? How do you make sure you're picking the right SaaS idea? How do you make sure you actually don't waste months toiling away, coding, and end up building the wrong SaaS product? In this episode, I'm gonna walk you through my 3-step framework on exactly how to develop your SaaS ideas and validate them so that you don't waste months building the wrong product. And I'm gonna do you even better. As I explain what the framework is, I'm gonna actually apply the framework and develop 7 new SaaS ideas. It is my sincere hope that you actually steal one of these ideas that all of them I love, or you actually use the framework to develop your own SaaS idea. Either way, my goal for you is that by the end of this episode, you are gonna know exactly what you need to do to actually accelerate your path to owning and operating and scaling your own SaaS business. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you grow your SaaS businesses faster with an unstoppable strategy. Now, if you're new to this channel, welcome. I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business faster. So if you're new, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode with the TK energy. Now, if you're already part of this community, if you're part of my SaaS go-to-market coaching programs, if you're a customer of one of my SaaS companies, my people, welcome back. It's so awesome to see you over here. I remember when I first started getting into the SaaS game, I had a day job as an engineer at one of the largest hedge funds in the world, but I knew I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I knew that I wanted to start my own SaaS business. So I adopted this schedule. I started developing this product, and I used to wake up at 6 a.m. and I was to work until 8:30 a.m. in the morning. And then I would drive to work. I would be at work from 9 a.m. to 5 to 5:30 p.m. I would then drive back, and then I would eat dinner, and then from 6:30 to 7 p.m. all the way to 11 p.m. at night, I would then code again. I did this schedule for months, building a really full-featured product. And every single time I put it out there a little bit, nothing would work, and so I would go back and add more features to the product. I fell into the one more feature trap. And after months of building and building and building, I realized I hadn't built a product that people actually wanted or solved a real problem. I'd wasted all those hours and all those months. But eventually I figured out how to actually develop ideas, how to actually take them to market. My last company, Kader, which is what I developed after that failed product, amassed 100,000 registered users. It was backed by the likes of Andreessen Horowitz, Jackson Square Ventures. We grew that company and then we exited it to a market leader called Marketo. Over the last 18 months, I've actually developed 2 new SaaS ideas, taken them to product market fit, and they're now scaling in revenues. And over the last 5 years since I sold Kader, I've actually coached over 500 founders on this framework on how to grow SaaS companies. So in this episode, I'm gonna walk you through that 3-step framework, and I'm gonna give you 7 new AI SaaS ideas that either you steal or you develop your own using the framework I'm about to teach you. So if you're excited to dig in, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Let's go into principle number 1. So principle number 1 in developing your SaaS ideas. And what I'm gonna do is give you the framework really quickly, and I'm gonna show you how I apply it and develop 7 new SaaS ideas. So I'm gonna literally walk you through it. So principle number 1, everyone thinks it's product, and that's the mistake that baby TK made as he woke up at 6:30 and started coding and created all this stuff. What you don't wanna do is start with product. You actually wanna start with market. You actually want to get very specific about the specific market, and more importantly, the specific group of people that you're going after. More times than not, this tends to be a group of people that you already know. So in this case, as we're applying this framework, step number 1, I'm going to do the work with you, and you're welcome to do this along as you watch this video. Grab a piece of paper and start to flesh this out. The target market that I really want to go after for my SaaS ideas that I want to develop is a market that I'm really familiar with. So it's the early stage entrepreneurs. These are folks that are breaking out and starting their own company. So I'm going to be focusing on them. So that's principle number one. Get super specific about the target market, specifically who is it that you're going after. And ideally, you're going to be able to think of 5, 10, 20 people that you already have in your network that totally fits that description. That way you're not making up a segment. Once you have principle number one down, the next part of the framework is the jobs to be done framework. Jobs to be done is essentially, if you're going after this market, how do you actually understand what these people do? In order to solve problems for them and develop ideas, you actually want to first start to understand first principles is who are these people and what do they do on a daily basis? What's their job? And the jobs to be done framework is one of the best ways to think about what is it that these people do on a day-to-day basis. Now, if you want to cheat a little bit, you're more than welcome to. If we're talking about AI ideas, you should be using AI as you're doing all these things. You can actually go into ChatGPT and you can ask it, hey, do you know what the jobs to be done framework is? And it'll say, yeah, absolutely. Then you can say, cool, I'm developing ideas for early stage entrepreneurs. Can you give me a simple bulleted list of the top 7 things in the jobs to be done for early stage entrepreneurs? And ChatGPT will do a pretty good job of listing it out for you. Now, ideally, you look at that, but you also know this market, so you should be able to come up with 7 of your own. So let's do this for early stage entrepreneurs. I want to list out 7 jobs to be done points, 7 things that they do on a regular basis. This is how you start to develop your idea. Now, the key here is I haven't written a line of code. I haven't developed a product. What I'm really trying to understand first is what are the things that they have to do on a daily basis and what are the problems that exist as they're doing those things. That's the whole point of this. And when you do this in the first principles way, you're going to be able to make sure that whatever product you're developing, whatever solution you're creating is actually tied to a real problem that these people have. And it's not just any group of people or all groups of people, it's a specific group of people. This is the kind of thing that I wish baby TK knew as he was waking up at 6:30 in the morning and working till 8:30 and then going to his day job and then coming back and working again and spending 8 months in the one more feature crowd. Like, I literally wish I knew this. Now, the thing is, this is one of the biggest reasons why I do this channel. This is one of the biggest reasons why I have my coaching programs. The reason I have this is because I want to make sure that the things that I really needed when I was starting out in the SaaS game, when I was scaling companies for the first time, the mistakes, the pain that I had, I can actually teach those lessons so that your journey is that much better. That's the main reason I do this. So this is something I wish baby TK was watching this video. That's how I create these videos. Let's implement this so we can develop our 7 AI SaaS ideas. So the jobs to be done for early stage entrepreneurs, the ones that I really like, especially as I think about my own journey, as I think about over 500 founders that I coach, here are the top things that the super early stage entrepreneurs that have to deal with. The first thing that they have to deal with is they have to find ideas. Like, that's why you're likely watching this video. The second thing they have to do is find investors in a lot of cases. You may not need investors. You may be self-funding it. You may be bootstrapping it. You may be taking a portion of your salary to invest in yourself and bootstrapping this company. All of it is fine, but this tends to happen as well. In case you're bootstrapping, you can think of it as advisors as well, right? The third thing they have to think about doing is they need to build some sort of an MVP, minimum viable product. At some point, they're gonna have to build an MVP so they can show their ideal customers like, hey, this is kind of what I'm building. Would you find value in it? The fourth thing they have to do is they essentially have to find first customers, like the first set of customers. And most likely the first set of customers is gonna come out of your own network. This is a small side point, a little side quest if that's okay, and smash that like button if side quests are okay. If you're targeting a certain market and you don't have a group of people in your existing network that can be your first customers, then it may not be the right market for you. So if you are targeting clowns and you know 0 clowns, don't create software for clowns is like a simple principle to follow on this one. Because if you target people that you already have in your network, you're just gonna be that much more likely to succeed. And also maybe don't create software for clowns, I don't know. Number 5 for early stage founders, and I wanted to go a little bit on the jobs to done, a little bit outside of just the business, because for entrepreneurs, it's a mix of their personal lives and their business, is maintain their health. So many founders burn out and they actually don't know how to manage their energy and manage their stress. So maintaining health is super important, and that's part of their jobs to be done. The best founders know how to maintain their health as they're going through this grind. Number 6 is stress management. That's also part of the jobs to be done for an entrepreneur. Number 7 is you need to find community, because if you're doing this alone, it sucks. You want to be connecting with other like-minded founders. You want to hook into a community, and you actually want to make sure that you're sharing your journey. Otherwise, it's a really, really lonely road. So this is essentially the jobs to be done. That's principle number 2. So principle number 1 is get specific about the market you're going after. Number 2 is double click on that and actually define the jobs to be done. It's a great framework to really flesh out what's going on in their day. Do I know enough about these people? And out of that can come potential problems that I need to be solving. Those are the 2 principles. And the third one, I'm going to show you the 7 AI ideas that you can steal based off of this framework. But before I do that, let me pause here for a second. Are you starting to see the power in this? The big reason I actually have this framework is to make sure that founders and entrepreneurs and engineers who are looking to quit their jobs and actually start companies do not quit cold turkey and start coding, and instead they actually create a real thesis around what's the market I'm going after, who are these people, what are the problems that they have, and what are the ideas that I want to go validate. That's the power in this. If you're starting to see the power in this, you're starting to see how this will make sure you don't waste months building the wrong product. Can I just get a yes in the comments below? And also smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. Now, as part of this framework, the way I actually develop these ideas and go validate it in the market and then start building is what I call my MGP framework. And in this video, I'm focusing on the M, that's market. G is go to market, and P is for product. Now, I'm not gonna go into go-to-market and product in this because I really wanna just develop the ideas first. But if you want the full framework and you actually wanna implement this framework so that you can be operating your own SaaS company, then be sure to check out my self-directed course for what I call pre-founders. These are folks like you that are just starting out in your journey. It's called the SaaS Launch Challenge. I'll tell you more about it at the end of this episode. I'll link to it below, but let's go into principle number 3. So principle number 3 is where all this comes together. Now that I know who I'm targeting and I know what their jobs to be done is, now I can start to talk about ideas. So I'm gonna develop 7 ideas that either you can steal or it'll inspire you to develop your own using this framework. So out of these, now that I know what the jobs are that I really care about, that I think are really important, I'm gonna develop 7 ideas. Now, the best way to develop AI SaaS ideas today, this is the quick trick that you can use to develop really compelling AI SaaS ideas, is you want to think about what's the data that already exists for them, meaning for these folks, this market you're going after, what kind of data already exists, either within their own companies or within their own data set or publicly available. And what you want to do is combine that data with AI, in this case, really an LLM, large language model. And that essentially creates your SaaS idea. Because what you're gonna say is like, hey, give us access to your data, we'll take the public data, we'll combine an LLM that we've custom configured with our prompts, and we'll give you some sort of an output. That is the best way to develop these AI SaaS ideas right now. So the way I'm gonna develop these 7 SaaS ideas, I'm gonna do it live as I work with you, is I'm literally gonna look at what's the job to be done, what's the data that exists, and how can I combine that with an LLM to give them a solution to the job that they're doing so that they can actually hire my product to help them do it. So let's actually play this out. The first one is find ideas. So this is super simple. You can create an AI idea generator. And again, you want to ask what kind of data is available publicly? Well, there's market trends that are available. That combined with an LLM plus some inputs from the user, you can actually start to generate AI ideas. So in this case, you could create an AI platform that says, hey, just give me the market you want to go after, and you put in early stage entrepreneurs, and it looks at all the macro trends for early stage entrepreneurs, it knows the jobs to be done framework, and it spits out 5 jobs to be done and 5 ideas. That could be a product right there. It could be AIproductgenerator.com. In fact, someone should totally build that. If you build it, put it in the comments below and smash that like button. The second idea that you can do if they want to find investors, well, there's lots of public investor data available. What you can do is say, hey, I'm going to find you an AI investor match. Meaning I'm gonna look at what you're building, I'm gonna look at your pitch deck, I'm gonna look at the public investor database and understand what they invest in, and I'm gonna match you up with a prioritized list of 20 investors that are more likely to invest in you. And that could be a really compelling SaaS idea. If they're building an MVP, well, now AI is getting really powerful. So you can take a bunch of inputs and you could do an AI mock-up builder. So you can build interactive mockups. Maybe you don't build out the entire application, but you can take certain inputs and based on that and using LLM and using all the models that exist today that can generate code and generate visuals, you can actually do an AI mockup builder so that these entrepreneurs can really start to see their idea come to life even before they write a line of code. When I look at find first customers, well, I know that with first customers, it's gonna come out of your network, unless you're selling to clowns, in which case, unless you're a clown yourself, you probably don't know any clowns on a personal basis, you don't know enough of them. So more importantly, there is data on who you know. It could be a LinkedIn graph. Well, you could do an AI customer finder where you can say, hey, just tell me what market you're going after, and I'm gonna look at your network and find you 10 people in your network that you should be selling this to. And that could be super powerful as well. When you look at maintaining your health, this is kind of switching. It's going beyond just their business, but just as important for this early stage market, you wanna maintain your health. Well, maintaining health, there's so much health data that's available that you can tap into for any given individual if they let you access it. So you could easily create an AI sleep tracker. And it could be a yes or no. Are you getting enough sleep over the last 6-week period versus not? And it's either red, yellow, or green. And that could help the entrepreneur course correct if they're getting close to burnout. If you're looking at stress management, well, stress management is one of the biggest things that founders conquer. The most successful founders figure out how to manage their stress. You get comfortable with the discomfort. That's how you play the elite game. Well, you could create an AI guided meditation app that manages their stress. So you can actually create some sort of an app that takes some inputs and helps guide them through some questions and get to a really good state in terms of expressing gratitude. You can do all kinds of things. In fact, this one's really cool. I actually built a product. I have a micro SaaS product that makes like $200 a month, and it's just like slowly growing. We don't really promote it. That does exactly this for entrepreneurs. You can check it out. I'll link to it below. It's unstoppablesunday.com. Number 7, find community. This one's really interesting. Being a founder is a lonely job, and it's a lot more fun if you find others that are weird like you. Most people aren't gonna start companies. Most people aren't gonna be entrepreneurs. So you're part of the 1%. So finding those people, when you find those people, you'll actually feel like you belong. So finding communities is super important. Any entrepreneur will want that. Well, you could do an AI events matchup where you can understand who this person is, where they live, any data that exists in terms of their Facebook profile, what their likes and dislikes are. You can look at a list of publicly listed events and you can match them up with the events that they should be going to in their local area. And that could be really cool as well. And just like that, we should have put a giant timer over here of how quickly we generated 7 ideas. But that's how you can actually start to generate ideas. And those are my 7 SaaS ideas if you want to go after the early stage entrepreneur market. And that's super, super powerful. So now let's recap everything we covered, because we covered a lot. Number 1, in order to actually make sure you don't waste months building a SaaS product and then realizing there's no market for it and no one wants it and you're in the one more feature trap and you built a bunch of stuff, the first thing you should do in my MGP framework is market. You want to actually specifically define what is the market I'm going after that I want to solve problems for. Then you want to use the jobs to be done framework to actually flesh out for this market, what are the jobs to be done? And you can use a ChatGPT prompt to get some initial ideas, but you should definitely be going after a market that you know stuff about, you have domain knowledge around. So in this case, I did early stage entrepreneurs and I fleshed out these 7 jobs that they have to do. Once you have the jobs to be done, you want to think about the framework of data plus AI. So what's the data that exists publicly and privately, and how do I combine that with AI to give them insights? And based on that, you can look at each of the jobs, figure out what data exists within that context of that job, public or private, and how you can use AI to actually give them insights. And that's how you flip it to actual solutions that you can start to go test in the market. In this case, you can do an AI idea generator for finding ideas, an investor match for finding investors, a mock-up builder for building an MVP, a customer finder for finding the first 10 customers you should be selling to in your own network, a sleep tracker to look at the sleep data and making sure that you predict burnout for founders so that they don't burn out, a guided meditation app so that you can actually help them manage their stress, or you can match them up for events, either local or within a 300-mile radius based on their likes and dislikes and what part of the industry they're in. And that way they can actually find community. And just like that, there are 7 key ideas. And now you know how I actually develop SaaS ideas to make sure I don't waste months building the wrong product. Now, what you may not know is, TK, how do I know if this idea is any good? I made them, okay, it follows the framework, it ties to a job. How do I make sure that I'm competitive, I'm differentiated, and people will actually value this? Do I start building the product? It's like, no. That's the second piece of the MGP framework. First, you do market, then you actually go to market. What you want to do is engage with this market and validate your idea first. And once you've validated the idea, once you've built out a list of at least 100 people in that market, then you can start to actually build the product because you've now validated the idea. This is is what I call my MGP framework. Now, if you actually want to validate your idea, if you actually want to go out there and flesh out the full framework, the MGP of this, and start to actually validate and stress test, is this idea any good? And then start to build a product, and then start to message the product and build a list around it, and then start to price it and demo it. If you want to do that whole thing so that you are operating your own SaaS business, then I encourage you to check out my fully self-directed course on the SaaS Launch Challenge. The SaaS Launch Challenge teaches you everything you need to know to develop your idea, to actually go to market and test it and validate it, and then to actually start building the product and start selling it, everything down to how to price it and how to demo it so you can actually start to convert to revenues. This is an incredible course. Over 250 founders, pre-founders actually, specifically for pre-founders, have gone through this course to develop their SaaS ideas and get to revenues. It is incredible. It's the type of thing that I wish existed. So if you want to do this and actually deploy this framework and be operating your own SaaS business, then just go to tkkader.com/challenge. tkkader.com/challenge. If you got value from this video, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. And so do we. We honestly put a lot of love into these videos. Also, I drop an episode like this every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches. The reason I say trenches is this is not theoretical. I have actually built SaaS companies. I've scaled them. I've exited them. I have built more SaaS companies using the frameworks that I teach, and I've coached over 500 founders. I'm in it, in the trenches with you, building with you, and that's why I'm here. That's why I love doing this. And so all the principles I share, it's not theory. It's not something I did once. It's something I did multiple times. And that's why I share them here so that you don't make the same mistakes I did. You don't make the common mistakes we all make. And that's essentially why I create this channel, why I run my programs, and why I create more software companies. I love this game. If you want to make sure you get notified when I drop another episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell icon. If you have a fellow founder, if you have a team member, if you have a friend that you want to start a company with, and you both want to quit your jobs, but you don't want to make sure you don't quit cold turkey, share this video with them, get them pumped up, and then join the SaaS Launch Challenge and start developing your idea and testing it in the market so that by the time you're quitting your job, you already have some initial revenues and you know you have some sort of a safety net and a plan versus just staring at a blank screen and figuring out what we do now. Also, lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you inside the SaaS Launch Challenge and also the next episode. Take care, everybody.